What games, if any, do we think should be turned into TV series or miniseries?
Let's talk about it.
Hello and welcome to episode 21 of Triangle Squared. I am your host, Brett Beck, and alongside me, your other host,
Saul Bridges.
Yeah, see, I let you say your name. Haha.
Hi.
I didn't let you. I didn't let you. I didn't want to say that, to be fair.
What does that mean?
Well, it sounded at first like I was controlling of you. Like you don't get to determine when you get to speak. But you do. You do. You say help?
Lucky number 21.
Well, that actually is a lucky number.
It is. Winner, chicken dinner.
So
That's a blackjack thing. Have you ever seen you never seen the movie 21?
No.
Oh, it's great. It's
okay.
Great.
Well, so this is a PlayStation podcast and not an IMDb podcast or whatever you
Hey,
want to
talking
call
about
it.
mini movies and miniseries today.
Why do you sound like when they ad lib on Rick and Morty?
Oh yeah.
we got doors.
I can borrow Rick and Morty.
Well, anyway, if you don't know who we are, what we do, this is Triangle Squared, a PlayStation podcast. Every week on Monday at 12 p.m. CST and 10 a.m. PST, we come out with an episode that you can find on YouTube at www.youtube.com/NartechGaming, or you can find us on podcast services such as iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play Music, Podbean,
Podcast Addict, a lot of things.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, see, that was the other one I couldn't remember. Anyway, you can find us for audio only if you just want to listen to us that way. If you do listen to us in audio only format, please, if it's on iTunes, give us a time if you don't mind and you enjoy the show. Let us know how we're doing by giving us a review and a rating. It helps get us up there so more people can find us, and it helps make sure that we know what to do to keep the show going smoothly and for as long as possible.
Good or bad, of course.
Yeah, of course. We want the criticism either way. But if you watch us on YouTube and you have any kind of things, you can tweet at us, or if you want to, just comment on the YouTube video, that's fine. But Saul, this has actually been just a busy week for me, not even from an actual having things to do, but I've just given myself so much things to do.
Yeah.
So I haven't talked to you much. What have you played outside of Sonic Mania? Because I know that's one of them.
Overcooked. With me and Annie have been playing Overcooked.
Have you had it since it came out physically?
No. I bought it digitally on Switch like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, you've been playing on Switch?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you been doing it with one Joy-Con each?
Yeah, it works out really good.
Well, no, I could see in that game it working well.
And we've been playing that, but we only played that for maybe 3 hours one night, and it went back to Sonic Mania. Great game. I'm pretty sure.
It's about how long me and Hannah played it whenever I got it on PS4. I don't think the game's good. I just don't want to play it without her, and then she hasn't come back.
I keep stealing the Switch back because I'm more enthused to play Sonic Mania than anything.
I forget you're playing it on Switch.
Yeah, so I went over there and I slid the Joy-Cons back on and went back to the couch, and that's really it. I've been jumping back into No Man's Sky. Besides that, so played probably around 10 hours of that this week, and I'm enjoying that as well.
Okay, yeah, I haven't played quite as many. I've probably played 6 hours in the last week since we kind of started talking about it again. And I've seen that the guy who won the $20 Shuriko,
he
picked it up on our recommendation, surprisingly. And it seems like he's enjoying it, so that's good to see. So that's it, huh?
Pretty much.
Oh yeah, you still don't have a Vita, so you don't have any Vita games.
Yeah, I still haven't.
Are you going to get one soon?
Yeah, probably so.
Are you going to try and get one of the special colors when you do?
A little. I might get the orange red one.
Oh yeah,
or the blue one you have. I kind of like the blue one you have.
I love the blue one.
But I also have been having a huge hankering for another game series on another handheld. They're coming out with a new game in November. Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon.
Yeah, no, screw that. That's not even a new game. That's Black and White 2.
I mean, you mean Sun and Moon?
I'm saying it's the equivalent of what Black and White 2 was.
Everybody can agree Crystal's
a
great game.
Well, that's not what we're saying. We're not talking about the third game in a series of when they do here's the first two and here's the one penultimate with some new stuff in it. This is them doing exactly what they did with Black and White, which is made a Black and White 2, which is basically making a sequel.
No, this is the same game from what I know.
No,
it's not.
It's a sequel.
Oh, that's weird.
Did
X and Y have a sequel?
No.
Anyways, okay, we're not a Nintendo Select Start coming towards you.
Well, it's not Select Start.
No, I was talking about the old podcast names we were going through.
Okay.
Nintendo podcast.
Whatever.
Episode 1.
I don't think we ever made one of that. I still have that intro thing, I think, on my computer when I did Select Start when I was possibly going to name. But that wouldn't. I don't think that would be what I wanted the Nintendo one to be called.
No, I think
we've talked about Nintendo enough.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the PlayStation that I've played,
Right.
good sir. Which I hate to tell you has actually not been much. So, in case you follow us on Twitter, you will probably have seen these, and I've posted it on Reddit and Tumblr and a couple of things.
Go ahead and grab one.
Oh,
they're
behind you.
Oh, well, I meant like the one. I don't think you've showed that one off on Twitter, have you?
What, Hellblade?
Yeah.
Well, Hellblade's not done. I don't want to mess with that.
I
want it to be I want it to be perfect when we see it.
Makes sense.
You ruined the surprise, but that's okay.
I mean, it's fine.
That's okay. I was gonna do
the surprise
it anyway.
is seeing it.
So yeah, but I've been spending a lot of my time doing the designs. The idea did come courtesy of Mr. My Name is Dan from Square XO. As soon as I saw he did, I was like, you know what? I have a good enough design background and understand how to do that enough. And I went and just made me a template. And as soon as I got the templates together and was like, okay, I think I can do this. I did Final Fantasy first, and I thought that one turned out pretty well. And then I did The Last Guardian, which turned out even better. What are you looking for, Last Guardian? It's up.
Oh, it's up beyond my reach, but it is.
And then, of course, yeah, because of that idea, I started thinking about making myself PS4 cases for digital-only games that I really like. So I did start designing a Hellblade one, and it looks pretty good. And I did a test print the other day, but it's slightly smaller than it's supposed to be.
Luckily, we have an unnamed person that works for GameStop, so you could probably get all those blue cases for free.
I don't think they have blue cases, though.
Do they not?
No, whenever they don't have a case for a
Is it
PS4
black
game,
still?
I think it's black.
I thought it was. I haven't bought a used game like that in so long.
Me either, but I'm just going to buy them bulk somewhere on eBay or whatever. That's what I did with those.
Hey,
I
that
actually
works.
I bought those at Office Depot, but those jewel cases that I was using.
You're talking about for the PlayStation 1 games.
Yeah, for
I
the
thought you were talking
PlayStation 1
about
style.
for that one.
No. That's
Got
just you remember somebody stole my Uncharted collection, and I just used that case to be my guinea pig case for the time being.
It was Uncharted Collection. I forgot about that.
But anyway, I haven't been doing too much gaming. I actually just played Sonic Mania for the first time this morning before.
Oh, it's so good,
we
isn't it?
podcasted. So far, I love it. It made me realize how long it's been since I've played a traditional Sonic game, and I kind of sucked at the very beginning. I died at the first level, which I felt like shouldn't have been anything.
And you said you died at Chemical Plant too, which is another one.
But I just died and then had to restart from the beginning, which is fine. That's not really that weird for Sonic. But I thought, I was like, I should have done it in Green Hill Zone of all places. Then we moved on to the Chemical Plant, and I actually did pretty far there. I got to a part where I think I just wasn't understanding where I was supposed to be going. And I kept dying.
Chemical Plant's always like that the first time you go back to it.
Well, and I don't understand because I don't remember this being a thing in the old games, but maybe I just suppressed that memory. I was like, it was killing me from things it didn't obviously say. Can you get killed by getting squished between two blocks that are doing the spin thing?
Yeah, and you could get killed by that.
And it was like I was at the very end of it, so I think I just got hit.
Yeah, you're talking about the blocks that are underwater.
But I actually got game over, so that's something I have to restart.
Yeah, so that could definitely kill
my
you in the
assumption is
original.
I have to restart, right?
Yeah,
because it's just like classic Sonic, where if you die to get a game over, you restart from the beginning.
By beginning, what do you mean?
Green Hill Zone, or is it by act?
It's by act.
So I'll still have to restart from the beginning on this one, right? Because I'm still in Act 1.
No, you're going to start at the beginning of Chemical Plant. You don't go back to Green Hill Zone if you get game over.
Okay. Cool.
You threw me off there. I was confused.
Am I remembering old Sonic wrong? I thought if you died enough times, you had to restart.
I don't remember that. I was one of those weird people that played the original Sonic on the Sega Mega Collection for PC.
I haven't played the original Sonic since I downloaded the Genesis emulator like in 2006 on my PSP just to see if it'd work. And I was like, oh, cool. And then I just went on. The most Sonic games I've been playing recently have been like Adventure and stuff on PS3. But besides that, I've played a little more. I keep meaning to get to Downwell, and every time I've been to go, I need to go download it, I'll turn my PSP on, and I keep forgetting I was in the item world on Disgaea 3,
PSP?
where you have to... PS Vita.
You said PSP.
Sorry, PS Vita. I keep turning my Vita on, and whenever I'm there, I'm like, oh crap, I'm in the item world, which you have to beat 10 levels of before you can leave.
Right, or you have to start all over again,
seven levels in, so basically it'll go to your last save if I quit.
Right.
So I was like, I don't want to do that. So I kept not downloading Downwell, so I still haven't done that. I did actually, last night, I failed. It was really late though. I failed the item world, the very last world. I just screwed up. And I was like, crap. So I ended up going back out anyway. I was like, I need to shut this down and download Downwell, but I just went to sleep and didn't do it this morning. So I did promise somebody, I can't remember who, on Twitter, that I was going to give my impressions of that, and that will still come, and I will still give you as I continue to go on to it, but I have not started it yet. I plan on doing that soon.
Speaking of impressions, if you guys are curious about what we thought about Hellblade, we did upload a bonus episode.
Yeah.
So go check that out on YouTube and other podcast services.
Yeah, and the other thing I'm curious about with that bonus episode is if you listen to it, give us your feedback on whether you like that and whether you like the idea of bonus episodes and how often you may like them, and if so, how you want them to be, if you want them to be impressions / discussions like we did with Hellblade, or if you would like some variety and kind of just have it be whatever. Like, so say if there's another game that comes out that we were both really, I would like to do one. I don't want them to all be us patting each other on the back. I would actually like to talk about games that we both play and one of us likes and one doesn't, which happens.
Yeah.
So,
I can't think of a recent game.
I would be curious to see how that would go down. So we'll save that, but just, let us know what you think with that. But Saul, I really haven't played anything else. I'm trying to think. And Injustice 2. I did finally start that. And I have been sucking at it. Depending on the character. It's weird. I was always good at Mortal Kombat, even the most recent one, Mortal Kombat 10, came into it, and I got through the story, no problem. This game's kicking my ass.
See, and I'm not a huge fan of comic books in the traditional sense of issue by issue. I'd rather wait for a graphic novel compilation kind of thing to come out where I can just read them all.
When I do the Coheed stuff, I never buy the actual individual comics. I always just wait until
yeah. See, well, there's a thing on Amazon where you can get the entire first series of Injustice in comic book form for $16.
Cool.
And I might do that.
That's not bad.
Because,
if I'm not mistaken, the new Injustice 2, isn't following the Injustice story actually anymore. Like, it's not following the comic books.
The snippet of a comic I saw that motivated me, I'm not going to say anything for those who are watching and don't want spoilers. It is. So I don't know if that was off of the original one or what, because I could be wrong.
I don't know, because it may be, but Jonathan's the one who told me that. And Jonathan reads comic books.
Huh. Well,
if anybody was going to know, he knows. I mean, he read the original Injustice. So, all right, Liz, that's my understanding.
Because people were basically mad about Superman keeping throwing temper tantrums, which makes sense.
I don't know. I'm not that far into it. I'm to the part right now, I think chapter 3 or 4, where I'm playing as the Flash. And they break it off when you're rolling through the story. I actually do. I kind of like the way the Flash fights. I
just don't like a lot of DC characters as a whole. There's like 5 I like, and Flash is not amongst them.
I like him depending on what he's in.
I don't think I've ever seen a media I've enjoyed him in.
I actually did not mind him at all in Flashpoint Paradox.
He wasn't that bad in Smallville. Do you remember that?
Yeah, actually,
terrible.
So, Saul, go ahead and hop into the drop so we can get this kind of going.
Sure thing. We have Bleed, a PS4 digital title. The Book of Regrets, a PS4 digital title. Chromagun, digitally for PS4. Duck Hunt, digitally for PS4.
Duck Hunt is so fun.
Did I say Duck Hunt?
Yeah, Duck Game. Sorry, Duck Game. I knew what you meant. You said Duck Hunt. I just followed your game, but I knew what it is. It's an Adult Swim game. It's super fun.
Got it. We have The Escapist 2, a PS4 digital and retail title.
So, just for y'all who don't know, before we got here, Saul asked me if I'd read before we started recording, he asked me if I'd seen the drop yet, and he was like, don't look at it before we record. I want to see your face whenever it comes to this.
It is crazy. It's something I
don't know what it is, so
I've never seen it. But we have F1 2017, a PS4 digital and retail title. Jack and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy for PS2 to PS4 digitally. Because that's only 1080p 60 and trophies, right? That's not a whole new.
Yeah.
Okay. Bounty Hunter on Star Wars, or the Star Wars game Bounty Hunter was like that.
Yeah.
We have Madden NFL 18, PS4 digital and retail, something I actually may pick up. We have
Majors of Australia.
Boy, if you don't stop cutting me off.
I'm
digital
sorry, I'm
PS4
happy.
title. It has been.
That's the one I have a shirt for that one. That's one of the ones where I sat and talked to the developers. And if I'm not mistaken, the publishers are doing this game and Chasm, which is like a 2D, a Metroidvania style.
You did that at PSX last year, right?
Yes, okay. And I have the shirt, and that game is awesome. It's got just for y'all who haven't heard of it or played it, I played a demo, and if you beat the demo within a certain time limit, or actually if you just beat the demo, you got a shirt, so I did it.
I think I remember that shirt. Didn't it not fit you?
It fits.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think I've seen you wear it once then.
I've worn it like 4 times.
Or maybe you showed it to me.
All my shirts get put up and I wash them because I'm weirdly proportioned and I have to not let them dry. I have to hang them up, so I'm lazy.
I'm kind of like that.
But that game's pretty cool. You have different spells that you can create and you can combine spells. And there's like a little thing here, and depending on how you put the stuff in there,
it's kind of like Doodle God, right? Spells.
No, not really. It's
I
not
remember
like you
seeing
just put
gameplay for a
in there.
game like that.
But no, this one in particular, it's like you mix things together and you can put like a fire modifier on something and it'll make a new spell, and like it's interesting.
Sounds fun.
And you use those spells to do like puzzle solving around the thing. So it's kind of I don't know. They were saying that the writer is the guy who does the writing for the Forgotten Realms stuff, which is Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah,
Forgotten Realms was what Baldur's Gate and Dark Alliance, Dark Alliance 2.
Was all based off of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are all written through that series, and that's also a book series, the Forgotten Realms series. So but it's all
that's
Dungeons and Dragons related.
To me.
So he's the guy who did it, and the art style is fun enough, and the way that it plays off is cool. So continue. That game is really awesome, and I'm excited.
Sure
it's coming
thing.
out.
We're gonna continue into some mayhem real quick. We have Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm out digitally for PS4.
Okay.
We have Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 2 out digitally for PS4. We have Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 3 Full Burst out digitally for PS4. We have Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm Legacy out for PS4 retail. We have Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm Theory out digitally for PS4.
Trilogy, not theory. So hold on.
Trilogy.
Are you telling me that not only did they release the trilogy, they released the where you can buy every single one of them individually?
Yes. And it's all...
Kudos on them. Kudos on them.
All on the same day, too. Those are actually really fun games. Have you ever played these games?
I played one of the Ninja Storms on PS3 because
that's
I know that's
what
these are. But because somebody told me that it was made by the same people who did the Budokai games.
I don't know about it. I never knew
and
that.
I don't know if that's true, but they were okay. I'm not a huge Naruto fan. So.
See, I'm not either, and it just depends, really. It depends on my mood if I am or not.
Yeah, I got you.
We have Never End, a PS Vita digital title, which looks pretty cool. We have One Piece Unlimited World Red, a PS4 digital title.
Does that not look like a Monster Hunter logo?
Oh, it really does, actually. Actually, I think they had another game with a logo similar to that, because I remember thinking that before.
Maybe. We
have Soul Dimension, a PSVR title.
Cool.
Spartan, a PS4 digital title. We have Super Combo Man Smash Edition for PS4, digitally, of course. Swap Quest, PS4 digital. We have Thimbleweed Park, a PS4 digital title. Art looks really cool for that. We have the big title, unless you're a Naruto fan this week. We have Uncharted The Lost Legacy, of course, available via retail and digitally.
If you're PS4. A Naruto fan this week, then damn boy.
You have a lot of time up for you. Then the last game on the list, we have Velocity 2X Critical Mass Edition. It's for PS4, Vita. It's all digital.
Okay. Well, I do think that was quite interesting that you that was what you apparently...
I busted out laughing when I was like reading through that.
That is super weird. All right. So, I'm going to go ahead and go into the news, but that was highly interesting and entertaining, actually. I even like the way that you were just throwing it out.
Yeah, it sounded like an auction.
Yeah, it did.
Like, here's 5 options or 4 options. Which one are you going to buy?
Okay, so first thing up on the list, I thought it was a little surprising, and I misspelled right there. Thank you, Google Correct. No Man's Sky receives another update shortly after its Atlas Rising update. Update 1.32 is out now and carries with it fixes to some small technical issues and bugs, nothing big or serious. Square Enix have announced a North American release date for Dissidia Final Fantasy NT. This announcement comes alongside a reveal for the Collector's Edition that includes a Warrior of Light bust, hardback art book, season pass, steelbook case, and official soundtrack for $189.99. And that is USD. The Collector's Edition is only available through the Square Enix online store, as they've done for the last few years, and it is set to release on January 30th, 2018. I'm glad it's coming that soon.
It is. That's way too much for that Collector's Edition.
All of the Square Enix ones, it just
are
depends.
Ridiculous.
The bust is like 9 or 10 inches, which is actually decent. The Final Fantasy 12 Collector's Edition... was kind of ridiculous, but
$250,
but it was cool,
wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was the entire Judge chess set, right?
Yeah, dude,
it was
that's
ballin'.
Actually pretty cool. But they've all been pretty expensive. You know, my Nier Automata one was like 189 or something like that, or 200
for that little thing.
Well, it was that and Steelbook and other crap.
I just don't like Steelbooks. I used to love Steelbooks. I don't know what happened.
I don't know. I love them. I have so many that actually look really good, though. So, anyway, speaking of Square Enix, Life is Strange Before the Storm was recently the subject of a complaint over a trophy-related issue. There was a lot of people blowing up on this one. Discovered by looking at the game's trophy listings on PSN profiles, it was found that the game's platinum was only attainable by completing the Farewell chapter that is currently exclusive to the deluxe edition of the game. My understanding is that the Farewell chapter has something to do with... the aftermath of the first game. It's like an additional chapter they did to explain kind of what happens after the end of the first Life is Strange.
Makes sense.
Anyway, so it was originally tied to where to get the platinum, there was a gold trophy that you had to beat Farewell to do, and it wasn't broken off into a separate thing.
Right, so you had to have it.
So you had to have that one. The developers have since come out and clarified that this was an error. Community manager Toby Palm said in an email... What, Toby?
No, I thought you almost said Todd Howard.
Toby Palm said in an email, quote, "This was a mistake on our side, and it was not our intention to gate the Platinum Trophy via the optional bonus episode in the deluxe SKU. We have already started speaking to the first parties about rectifying this," end quote. I don't know if that really was a situation or if it was them trying to slip it in to see what would happen. I believe in people enough to think that that is just a mess up and it was supposed to be underneath a DLC column. But I'm glad they're fixing it either way.
I bet they wish they could rewind time.
You're
terrible.
The worst, Saul. Just the worst.
I get really punny when I'm hungry.
Okay. Ninja Theory have released the first patch for Hellblade since launch. Update 1.01 aims to resolve a range of issues that have been reported since launch, such as potential progression stopping issues and audio, combat, and photo mode bugs. It also introduced a few small gameplay tweaks for combat. So I thought that was pretty good, but there was nothing crazy. People haven't had just too many issues, but I almost wonder if it's going to run better on yours now.
Yeah.
But who knows? Because
I'm not going to spend the 6 hours to go back to that particular spot.
Yeah, I know.
It would be interesting.
Just saying. So, but I don't know. Most people have not experienced that issue. I don't know if you saw that or not. So, interesting either way. Next thing up on the list, it's been a long time since we've seen or heard from Shenmue 3, but that looks to change soon. It looks to change soon. It was revealed this week that the game will be published by Deep Silver and will have a presence at Gamescom this year. So maybe we'll be getting some actual substantial information for the first time since
which
2015.
People would go nuts over.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I do think it's interesting that Deep Silver is publishing it. I'm not surprised that some people are that Sega's not doing it because Sega published Shenmue 1 and 3, but
right.
Next thing up on the list, Compulsion Games, developer of PS4 launch title Contrast, that I never played. I have it free from PS Plus, still haven't played it. Have announced that We Happy Few will be coming to PS4. The game is a survival horror game that takes place in a fictional English city during the 1960s, where residents take a drug known as joy that causes hallucinations and causes them to lose their morals is what I put on here. I don't know, that doesn't quite sound right, but it will be available on PS4 on April 13th, 2018. Check this out. I think this was originally announced at Gamescom on Xbox's stage of 2015, I want to say. The game looks interesting, though. And they may even showed it at E3 last year. It's really hard to say for 2016.
Right.
Next thing up on the list, David Cage, writer and director for Quantic Dream, recently revealed that there have been scenes cut from Detroit Become Human. In an interview with official PlayStation Magazine, UK, excuse me, Cage said, quote, "Dealing with this kind of subject matter where we deal with violence, I just wanted to make sure that whatever we do in Detroit Become Human, there is no ambiguity and our meaning is absolutely clear. Honestly, I canceled a couple of scenes where I felt the meaning could be interpreted wrongly." He went on to say, and I didn't put it in here, I'm a little disappointed because I prefer games to just do what they want to do and not worry about what people are going to say back.
Right.
Because I think that that's sometimes the reason that games are so revered and so loved is that they push boundaries in a way that's different. And maybe they're still doing that, and maybe these scenes, it was too ambiguous. It wasn't necessarily strengthening their point, and it could be taken in a way that was also bad. So maybe it was the best thing to cut it, but I'm hoping the game doesn't see any kind of a suffering quality from that.
Right.
But what was interesting is that statement sounds reasonable. It's like, well, we wanted it to be clear. We want to know what we want to make sure that our messaging is clear in this game and that these could be interpreted wrongly. I get that. But then he went on to say later in the interview that it is just a video game and sometimes you got to not use things that are going on in the world right now for something that's in the long run just meant for entertainment. And I don't know if that was just he meant it in a different way or maybe it...
Did they say what was cut?
No.
I'm thinking it's
no, I think it may have something...
Charlottesville.
Well, I think maybe too, and I think because obviously, part of why I'm so excited for this game is I like the idea about the battle that's going to be going on between the
human and
the moral nature of the battle between these humans and these androids,
right,
and what humanity is in this long run sense. And since the androids can feel emotions, are they human? And maybe it's because in a way that's not going to be. It's not. I mean, it's racism, but it's racism from an actual like human race versus android race. And I think that maybe does hit too close to home with what's going on. But I still hope that they didn't actually remove anything like that. I don't know. But it is weird that it's happening right around the time.
Because I could see that for like respect to family. But that's not going to take...
It's hard to say, It's hard to say. But
yeah.
hopefully when the game comes out, it is still it's a game that's not scared to push the boundaries. So.
Right.
Next thing up on the list, Eve Valkyrie is receiving a new expansion that will open up the game for non-VR owners. The expansion, titled Warzone, will allow PC and PS4 VR players to play alongside users using a standard TV setup. I did say PC and PS4. That's because apparently, I didn't know this, PSVR can also play with Rift and Vive. So good to know.
I did not know that either.
Yeah. So the expansion will also be rebalancing the game to take into account the non-VR players, along with adding several new gameplay systems and features. The expansion will be free to existing players, with new players able to purchase it for $29.99, and it will be launching on September 26th. So that's pretty interesting to see. Next thing up, in a recent financial call, and I just put this on here because I thought it was really crazy. In a recent financial call, Square revealed that Dragon Quest XI has sold positively. The interesting part is that the game has apparently sold stronger on PS4 than on 3DS. And this game is only
nuts.
in Japan.
Yeah, that is nuts. I don't understand how.
Me either.
Because when was the last time a Dragon Quest base game was on the PS system? Last gen?
Dragon Quest X, which was online. It was an MMO, yes, and it never made it over here. And before that, they were PS2 games for 9 and 8.
Right, yeah, I had 8.
But either way, I thought it was really super. I don't think 9 came over here actually either. It was one of those two. I think 7 and 8 were the last two.
7 and 8 were on PS2.
Yes.
And then I'm pretty sure I had 8. Maybe
either
it was
way,
7.
when they came over, I mean, those games have always sold pretty well over here, but those games don't have very high sales expectations. Not only is this game sold and reviewed extremely positively, I just think it's crazy that the PS4 does not have that big of an install base in Japan in comparison to the 3DS. But they were mentioning that apparently that's because there's... So far, what they do to track, this is news because people were saying the 3DS was selling better, but that's because if you track physical to physical, the 3DS is outpacing it. But apparently people are more okay with buying digital-only versions of games on PlayStation consoles in Japan than they are in Nintendo. So where the numbers ended up coming back is that they sold so many digital copies of it on the PS4.
Right. That's interesting.
So, yeah. Next thing on the list, though, I just thought that was super interesting because Japan's a weird place. In comparison to us, it's just the way they play games
I don't know,
is so
man.
different.
The last 6 months.
Uncharted 4's multiplayer will be receiving an update to include skins for characters from the Lost Legacy. Next thing, Sony have announced that PlayStation will return to Paris Games Week this year. Their showcase will be on Monday, October 30th at 8 a.m. PST. And there's a little bit of me that hopes we get a release date for... Detroit here because 2 years ago this is where they revealed Detroit.
Yeah.
So and it makes sense because they're in Paris and Quantic Dream is a Paris studio. They're a France-based studio.
I am really hoping for a holiday of 2017 because now there's not a whole lot.
It's 2018. That's what's coming.
Oh, is that
already
confirmed?
announced? It's already announced. It's coming 2018, but they haven't talked about when. So.
Yeah. I feel like we've talked about this too.
Sony have announced that PlayStation will. Oh, sorry, just did that one. Capcom have seemingly listened to feedback regarding Chun-Li's appearance in Marvel vs. Capcom and have fixed it. That's why I put that little picture on there. The change in model is drastically improved from what was shown at E3 and in the demo that was released around that time period. We can only hope that Dante has received similar treatment. He's in the new trailer for like 1 second, but you don't get to see him very head on, so you can't tell if they fixed him or not.
Oh, he was ugly too.
But he was very ugly. So that's all I had for the news. Before we hop into the news, Saul, you want to go ahead and handle reader mail?
Sure. So, if you follow us on Twitter, Triangle SQRD, you'll know that about an hour to 2 or 3 hours before we film, we always put up a question, or we also put up a tweet asking you guys to ask us questions, and we have 2 replies this week. We have Sergeant Stan. He said, enjoyed your coverage of Hellblade. Should there be more social commentary, i.e. mental health in games, do you guys think? Powerful stuff. Thank you for complimenting us on that.
I'm glad to see that there's been people who have been liking not only Hellblade, but our coverage of Hellblade. That's great. I do think Hellblade was a very interesting game. And one of the YouTube comments, we had somebody saying that they didn't think Hellblade was very much of a game and that it wasn't very good. And I can understand that. And I did say in our coverage that while I do think everybody, if the game interests you at all, you should get it. I also do readily acknowledge that the game is not necessarily a game for everybody. And some people just have different feelings because this is kind of a walking simulator mixed with a puzzle game, mixed with a combat action game.
Correct.
But the walking simulator is just used for narrative purposes in a good way.
Yeah.
So it's weird, but I think the game did such a good job with everything it was trying to do that you can't blame the game just because it's not your style. And that's kind of where I went with that. Everybody has their own feelings on games, but I do think that this is a great game.
Especially because typically for me, I'm not one for more of a heavy, slow narrative over gameplay.
Yeah,
you know
that's
that,
true,
and for me to enjoy this game.
Well, I do want to say because it's tying into what what Sergeant and am I Sergeant? Does that sound what the SGT should be? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Sergeant Stan's or whatever's how you say that.
I always say Sergeant Stan.
Yeah, we'll call him Sergeant Stan. But what he's asking about is, social commentary, which has been in a couple games lately. I mean, social commentary, if you really want to talk about it, was in The Last of Us. Social commentary has been obviously in Hellblade. And there's been a lot of games just kind of starting to attach itself to that and being a little more socially going around social norms and how to break them or how to introduce things that aren't typically talked about in the medium. The YouTube user, and I can't think of his name, the World's End or something like that, I think is his name.
Yeah, it's
he was saying that in his particular opinion that he didn't think that they actually capitalized on the mental health thing. He thought it was them trying to say that, and I disagree. And I don't know if he beat the game and that was still his interpretation. I feel like it's really hard to. But he was saying that it was kind of like it was a ploy for her to just because that she's prophetic in a way, but she's not. And I don't agree with that at all.
See, that's why I didn't want to agree to it being a dream sequence, is because I thought she was a very standard person with nothing special about her.
No. When I say the prophetic aspect, I just mean that she couldn't see the future. It wasn't her seeing things that were going to happen.
That's what I mean. Yeah, she wasn't a special person. She didn't have powers by any means of it.
No, she just had voice, but I still don't.
Right.
I'm still not saying that it was a dream sequence. I'm saying that it happened in.
No, I know.
It happened in her head.
I know. I'm just saying I don't like that because.
But we've talked about Hellblade enough, so. To answer your question, though, Sergeant Stan, I do think that it's something I enjoy in games, and I do think that we need to see, or not need, but I think that I readily welcome games that do want to try and tackle some social commentary in the games, and that's actually kind of tying into what I was talking about with Detroit Become Human, is that I want to see games push the boundary. I mean, if that's the story you want to tell, I don't want you to be afraid to tell it.
See,
because I think that helps games not feel so samey. I think it's those little weird breakouts, and no matter how controversial they may be, Ellie coming out as gay in the last and the
Ellie.
Yeah, what did I say?
I don't know. It sounded like you said something like L.A. or something.
No, but
I guess that is Ellie technically.
Ellie, and it's not a spoiler on anything realistically, but in the Last of Us DLC, they basically mention that she is.
Well, she kissed.
Exactly, she kisses her friend, and that doesn't necessarily mean
her name.
There's a number of things to be said about that, but of course, some people were like, "Whoa!" I mean, but in a way, I think that those are. Some people say it could be like shot, just little. We're going to throw that in there to shock you. It's shock value, and then. Yeah. But I don't think that's what it is. I think it's ways to work because like people said, she was gay the whole time, even in The Last of Us, whether you saw it or not. This all happened before The Last of Us, so that means she was gay in The Last of Us. So
it's after.
I like it because it forces some people who liked Ellie, and then people who maybe don't agree with gay, is like, oh man. But I think social commentary is a weird way to sometimes.
It's not worth shoehorning in to gain somebody else's approval. That's
that's an issue. But I mean,
that's what it's made. It's like that was put in there to make it.
No. But I'm saying appealing. I do think it's funny they did it afterwards instead of beginning, because people who did like her, who then found out and left behind that she was gay, who it's like. But that's just, I'm just saying, it doesn't matter. You feel the way you feel.
Yeah.
But I think that it makes the game's conversations more interesting, and I think it makes the game a little more seminal in your head and play out. Right. I think you remember it more fondly, regardless of how you feel, or you remember it more, not necessarily fondly, depending on where you stand on the subject matter. But I think that mental health is something that,
as long as you do it respectively.
Okay, it's like this.
And you're not exploiting it.
And it gets weird in stuff like Life is Strange. But, in Life is Strange, there's a little bit of parts of suicide.
Right.
I'm not going to go into who with and blah, blah, blah. It's not really anything big in terms of, I don't want to spoil anything. So, in Life is Strange, they have a part where suicide's talked about. And I think that the more you start to see this stuff in games, the less of a stigma there is on it society-wise. I think that the more you subject people to it, the more normal it becomes, and people are more willing to have a conversation.
That's one of those things that can go either way. It could go.
Well, there's some people who don't want to talk about mental health at all, and I think putting it in the game opens it to people who maybe have never thought about it. And then it may help some people who were kind of iffy on
if
it.
done right, then
Exactly,
the
exactly.
outcome will be for sure like worth it. I just don't think that.
Yeah, but not shoehorned. And I don't think, and I mean, that's what where I stand. I don't think Hellblade shoehorned it.
Right.
I think it was just the story they wanted to write, and I like that they constantly reference that they talk to people who actually have this issue, and they talk with doctors who handle this issue, so that they made sure that they weren't belittling the issue at hand, and they were making sure it felt real. And not only was for people who have psychosis who play the game, maybe they're like, oh, this is really relatable. And then for people who don't necessarily understand psychosis, it becomes relatable in a sense because the game finds ways to help you feel like you understand.
Right. And see, I think it works out if you have written that in thinking about it. I've seen people say, oh, change this because we need more gay people in video games.
No, don't do that.
Do not pander.
Write the story you want to tell. That's it.
Right. Don't let other people force you to pander to their audience because they want it. Like, don't change a character because another person wants it. Change it because it's what the story needs.
Yeah.
And that's the one that's as long.
And actually, it's becoming over. And it's not social commentary in the same way, but there's an interview with when they were doing the making of The Last of Us
with Neil Druckmann.
Well, yeah, but did you see the part where he's talking about originally the character of what's his name who kidnaps Ellie?
Oh, Tom. No,
Tom. I can't think
Bill.
of his name. No, not Bill.
It's not Bill.
Bill's the crazy guy in the town. David, I think is his name.
Yeah, it
okay,
is.
so David was apparently originally not supposed to be pedophilic or anything, but obviously in the game he is.
And that added a good kind of like
exactly.
As weird as that sounds.
He wasn't written that way, but whenever
like they were progressing along on the storyboard, I'm sure.
How can I forget the voice actor's name right now?
Troy Baker?
No, it's Nathan Drake's voice actor.
Why'd you do this to me?
I know, I killed myself. Anyway, so he was the one doing the voice acting. When he started doing it, they were talking about like he started reading the lines kind of creepily, and like they kind of got to the point where they're like, maybe he is that, and then they just kind of rolled with it. And I thought that was interesting. And actually, it's a similar situation of how Ellie ended up coming out as gay and the thing. And like when they were doing stuff, Ashley was kind of like, I feel like she's gay, and that's the woman who does the voice acting. So she's like, it's her character in her mind, and she's rolling through, and she's like, I feel like. That's what, and I think that's interesting because I think it's weird that they write a character one way and then the character actually completely changes just because of the way that the person who's reading the writing took it. You know what I mean?
I think it's a great question. I certainly can see, as long as you are being respectful to the people that you are,
and not using it just to get certain people.
And don't use, like, people are saying Link should be a girl because he's never been a girl. That's not Link. Make it, if you want to have a female Zelda character, just make a new Zelda game with the Princess Zelda as the main character.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. But it's still, but even then, if they don't want to do that, they shouldn't have to. That is what it comes down to.
They shouldn't be forced to change.
Nobody should feel like they should just make the game they want to make. And if that game means that it's a straight white male, then it's a straight white male. You can't be mad about that. If it's a young black woman, cool. It's a young black woman. I don't care.
Yeah, I can be a crybaby all I want. That doesn't mean that the developer should change to me being a crybaby.
Exactly.
And that's because I am a big crybaby. But we have Shariko over here, the guy who won the giveaway last week. Thank you for entering. And your current reply review to No Man's Sky.
Replay. I'm pretty sure is what he meant because...
Makes sense because reply, yes. No Man's Sky. Also, what game are you looking forward to getting the most at current? So we'll keep this one a little short since we've kind of talked on it. I think No Man's Sky, the update's great. I think they added...
Well, now that we've played more of it, because the last time I actually hadn't even played it.
They added narrative to the story. They added, go here, there's a transmission. Here's the story behind this transmission and all this stuff. That wasn't in the original game. Yeah. And you were kind of wandering through space to get to the center. So they added that. They added... The environments look great now. The base building is phenomenally fun.
I haven't found that yet.
You don't have to find it. Well, technically, like...
You have to find the start position.
You have to, yeah.
According to Joe.
You can make a little... He's right. You can make a little beacon that'll tell you where a base is. Then you get the coordinates on the planet, you go to that place. And then you can make a base. It's real easy. It's real fun. And it gives... And you can warp to your base from space stations.
Nice.
So it gives it more elements because when I played it for 20 hours. And about the 15th hour, I got to a new planet. And I was just like, I'm doing the same thing over and over again, and I'm not getting anywhere. And I was just kind of like lost interest. I had my fill of it. It was fun for those 15 hours, and then by the 20th...
Yeah, you go ahead.
Oh, that was it.
Oh, that's it. I do want to say that I still think the game has got a core gameplay loop. I mean, the game is getting money to get better ships. That's the loop. It's
to get better ships to get to the center, but now it's to build a better base.
But everything that you're doing is all in service of just getting you like
to the center of the universe.
Not necessarily.
Well, that's pretty much the end of the game.
If you can build a base, you can just Still, I think the game has got a lot of enjoyment to just play, pick up and play in random times whenever you just feel like it. I do think it's good, and I liked it, but I mean, it hasn't pulled me back to just playing it constantly, which it was doing at first. I still realize that the game is somewhat similar to what it was at launch, but it's just closer to what it was meant to be.
Right.
I like that there's a little more like environment variety. I like that. I like the fact that the planets seem to have a little bit of differences to them.
And I picked it up on sale for $23. I think that's a good price point.
I like a lot of the new things that they're doing. I mean, I like the quality of life updates they did, like being able to call your ship to you. That's great.
Oh, yes.
Adding the little drop down menu when you hit up or down and going to refill your stuff without having to go to your menu. That's great.
Refill your stuff.
Yeah, if you hit down on the D-pad, it comes up and you can toggle flashlight, which apparently is always in the game, but you can also refill your gun or you know what I mean?
Oh, I didn't scroll all the way through that. I found like refill your gun, and in space I found the galaxy map and stuff in there.
There's stuff like that, but it comes down to like you can just see in space. I don't think you can do it, but when you're out,
no, you can. That's how you get the galaxy map.
Well, you hit down, but you don't have to hit down and then scroll to galaxy map, do you? You do, don't you?
Yeah. It's one or two scrolls. Also, I thought it was really cool that when you're flying in space, and I don't remember this happening, and I played a good chunk of this game, 20 hours. I would think it's a good chunk. I was in space and I got scanned by a hostile ship. I had to open up a communicator and bargain credits with him or he attacked me. Did that happen in the original game?
No.
I didn't think so.
They just added the ability to be able to comm to other ships around you. So when a hostile, like a space pirate,
I didn't have 6,000 credits to give him, and he took my life too. I died. He killed me.
I still think
great. It's great though.
Combat's really interesting still in the game, but I think the game is still moving towards the goalpost of what I want to see. I'm down to continue playing it, and I still like the idea when full-on multiplayer is in the game.
Worth $60.
And when they get to a point where the combat is fleshed out completely, I still like the idea of going to the ships. Like you can actually go to the freighters now. You can talk to the captain. You can steal from the freighters if you want to. It's not good for you.
Oh, I never did that. I tried. I got on a freighter.
I haven't done it, but if you look at the freighter, it'll give you the option to destroy. You can shoot it and you can steal its contents.
That's pretty cool.
And I like the idea because that leads towards what I was talking about with kind of a job system. Is that if we all want to get together and make a lot of money, it's dangerous for us, but we can get like 6 ships together and then all go in there, upgrade our ships as best we can, then go attack a freighter and try and steal all of its stuff and then bounce out without dying.
And then like
and you become your own group of space pirates.
I could be a bounty hunter. You could be like a freighter.
I think the whole thing's cool, and I like the idea of owning a freighter and getting different ships and stuff. So,
but what game are you most currently excited for?
Okay, so the game I'm most excited for currently, and I do want to say, when I say currently, I'm thinking of what's closest that I'm excited for is obviously Uncharted: The Lost Legacy for me. If you go a little bit outside of that, since The Lost Legacy is literally like 5 days away, 4 days away, whatever it is, 3 days away. Oh my God. I would say probably Shadow of War. And of course, I'm gonna go with 3 because it's really hard for me to say 1. Shadow of War is pretty important to me, and South Park: The Fractured Butthole are all pretty important to me. Now, there's other games that are important, but those are the ones that I'm looking forward to the most. I have a really I have a real pull to want to play.
Got that big old Destiny 2.
Yeah, I know that's for you. I'm going to play it. I don't know.
Knack 2, baby.
I don't know if I'm doing it at launch. Dude, Knack 2, I'm getting. I don't care what anyone says. The game's great. Knack 2. Knack 1 was great, and Knack 2 looks great. So, Saul, what about you? What are you most excited for?
Destiny 2,
Besides
baby.
That, come on.
No, that's really it.
Oh my God, really?
What else is coming out in this upcoming 6 months left of the year?
Are you not going to get Shadow of War?
No.
Really?
Microtransactions in single player. Pass.
Same thing that this guy. Same thing that the World's End guy said on YouTube.
I didn't even see that.
But the microtransactions are not ingrained in the game, and that's the only reason I give them a pass. Because
don't you also have to be online to play single player?
No, you have to be online to go to the marketplace.
But I thought, okay, that's weird. Still weird.
Yeah, no, I mean, from my understanding, you don't, because people thought you had to be online to play the game. Then it was like that was a misunderstanding. You had to be online to go to the marketplace.
Got it. The first one was great. Not going to pick up the second.
Well, I mean, I think the second one looks great. And for those who don't know what we're talking about, the microtransactions are something that's actually in the post game. And it basically acts as a way because and this is why I give them a pass personally. The developers don't have a lot of say. Warner Brothers is the publisher. That's just what it comes down to. They're going to be the ones who say what has to be in the game and what doesn't have to be in the game. There's actually a really interesting discussion about what Dead Space 3 would have been if EA didn't have a say. What they wanted that game to be versus what EA made it to be. It's pretty interesting. I may have mentioned that already. But
I won't even give them my money so Warner Brothers gets a cut. Sorry.
But it comes down to Warner Brothers, I'm sure, said that there has to be some form of microtransaction in the game. We're seeing huge success with it with Overwatch and all these games. And I think the developer did the best thing they could have done. They put it in there. They made sure that it did not affect the game in any real way. everything that you can get in that marketplace store with real money can be bought with in-game currency that you earn naturally.
Right, which is what makes it ridiculous to be there with real life money.
Oh,
I get why.
No, I get it too, but I'm
get
saying
why.
that
It's just ridiculous.
If we're going to talk about microtransactions, at least it's microtransactions that are not like everything. There's nothing that you can't do in the game without having to spend personal money. You know what I mean? You don't have to spend money to do the things you want to do. So,
right.
I mean, that's where I end at it. I think that it's fine. I'm going to get that game. So,
I'm super.
I mean, you never played South Park Stick of Truth, did you?
No, I never. I have it. I literally have it sitting at home on my Xbox 360 that's in the bedroom as a Netflix machine, and I never played it.
Oh, well, the game was it ran kind of on PS3 and Xbox 360. But still, I don't know. Those are what I'm excited for.
Besides Destiny 2, man, I really don't know, to be honest. I mean, I'm sure there are games that are coming out this year that I'm going to be super excited about.
Well, you can look it up later and post it on Twitter.
Yeah, that works.
All right, well, let's move on into the main topic, and this topic comes to us courtesy of at Rude Cold, and what's that guy's actual name? It's something cold. Stop looking at that shit.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
No, what's his actual name? Is it Sean
Sanderdude?
Okay, that's what I thought. There's so many Seans. It's such a
oh yeah,
it kills me. We have a lot of Seans that talk to us on there. So yeah, his thing and his actual tweet, which I guess I don't have up here anymore, came down to what game series would we like to see get their own TV series, because, and this was inspired by, according to him, and I do understand it, the success of the Castlevania Netflix series. So. And he said animated or live action. And I like that he went that way, because I think that there are some games that could be turned into series that work in an animated fashion. And then I think there's some games that could be turned into series that work in a live action capacity. But, I mean, I don't know. What games came to your mind at the first?
Bloodborne.
So oh, yeah. Okay.
Imagine a Berserk-style Bloodborne anime.
Okay.
Boy.
Anime. Okay. For some reason, my brain went live action. Was the last thing I said.
No, I don't think that game would pass as live action without some
really hard
Supernatural style CGI.
Yeah.
Sorry to those who like Supernatural. That's a terrible show.
It's
it's a cool premise, but I don't like the CGI in it.
That's why I don't like Doctor Who. It looks like Power Rangers from the 1990s.
Sparks flying instead of blood. But that's really the only thing, is that the Soulsborne series would lend themselves really well to anime, I think.
I think so too, actually.
A short anime like Castlevania.
Or even a movie.
Season 1.
I actually think a movie might do well if they not going wide scope with it and not trying to have it be the entire thing, but if they did like a short movie that was based around like a fleshed out thing about Father Kaswan's story.
See, and that's what gets me, is that there's not a lot of exposition and story within these games.
So the TV shows would lend themselves to explain that further.
It could go into
and it would be able to have liberties without ruining the
It could go into the great ones and who they are, where they came from, which, the game does.
Which then the argument could be had
a good amount, because they're cosmic beings.
Well, the people could argue that then the game would lose its mystery effect, which maybe is true.
Well, yeah, and you could do something in the Bloodborne realm, I would think.
Okay,
the world of Bloodborne, or the realm of Dark Souls.
I mean, I don't know. I think that one actually works pretty well. Where my brain went is ones that they're already working on. Surprisingly, that from what it seems like right now, the Sly Cooper movie they announced back in like 2013 is not happening, but a Sly Cooper TV. So
I think
it's going to be animated.
I think they saw Ratchet and Clank. And I think that they kind of backed away.
The reason that Ratchet and Clank didn't do well is not only
literally the game.
And that's,
just play the game. It looks fun when I saw you play it. I still need to buy it.
Yeah,
it was like $5 one time.
It makes a better game than a movie. I didn't watch the movie, to be fair, but everywhere I saw there was no reason. I only wanted to watch the movie if it added on and gave me more, but it didn't. So, but I think Sly Cooper would really work, because I think Sly Cooper's got really great characters. And of course, my go-to first is I would much rather see a new Sly Cooper, but if a TV show has to happen to make that even be a possibility, to see how much people are interested in it, I'm fine with that, and I do think it would work. The whimsicalness of that world, I could see pull into a cartoon style very well, and whether it would be 2D animated or even 3D animated, I'd like it either way. My brain wants to go towards those, but I do sometimes think about games that would be able to pull themselves off, and something that Blaze and me have talked about plenty of times, and I'm just curious to where you stand on it. And I'm not saying that it would be better or that it would be necessary, but if they did it, I think that they could do it well, and as long as you just didn't compare it to the game or try to. But Blaze is saying, because he's never understood why the Walking Dead was such a sensation to so many people.
That's a good show, that's why. But
okay, I mean, I disagree, but I'm not going to get into that, and it doesn't really matter. If you like it, you like it. It's cool. But Blaze has always come to me, and we've had discussions about what would happen if they did the Walking Dead style of these big, big episodes, kind of Game of Thrones, Walking Dead style, whatever, of The Last of Us.
No. Absolutely not.
And see, it depends on how you go, but I could see that working, and I could see that. But the game was so seminal, and people love it so much that you walk a weird tightrope.
It would be. What would happen is that they would have to make a off-universe Last of Us. They'd have to expand on the Fireflies and stuff.
Oh,
Joel and Ellie wouldn't even be a thing.
Oh, no, I don't want Joel and Ellie to be in the show, but that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
No, just then, the world of The Last of Us in a TV show.
Then it'd feel like Fear of the Walking Dead, which feels like a ripoff of The Walking Dead. So it's going to feel like a ripoff of The Last of Us. I don't think that there's a lot they can add outside, we already know the Fireflies. We already know basically the cordyceps and everything about it.
Well, but there's this big 20-year gap. They could actually, the problem with it is it probably would be similar to Walking Dead. Where
it would be way too
right
similar,
right after the events of how the world basically lets itself fall apart.
And then it would be seen as a ripoff. It would be seen as a ripoff of Walking Dead
I'm sure.
or the game.
But let's just, I think Blaze's thing was always, if The Walking Dead never existed and it was just replaced with The Last of Us TV show style of the same thing, he thinks it would be better.
And people always do say, like, Hugh Jackman would be
a fucking great Joel.
Yes, a great Joel. Which
I think The Last of Us makes a better movie than a TV show.
Yes.
And I do think that there are people that can play that role off well.
It lends kind of to this conversation me and Joe have had in the past about, like, people who play people. And No Fate replied, his name is Sean1Neo on Twitter.
All these Seans.
Yeah, we did say we have a lot of Seans. He replied, Metal Gear Solid that would be animated, which we have extensively talked about a live action cast
for
Metal Gear Solid. Yes. Like, over the course of the past 10 years we've been friends, we go back to this topic and we can spend hours casting out this movie. He also said animated Zone of the Enders, which would be cool, but there was...
apparently, and I thought it was movies. We actually talked about it. And he went off and said that it was a series, and I did not know that. I really thought they were movies.
I want to say you got Zone of the Enders demo on Metal Gear Solid 2's disc, and then you got the episode of Zone of the Enders, or you got something animated on Zone of the Enders 2, I think. I can't remember because it's been it's been a decade since I played those games. But
I never even played the second game.
It was way better than the first.
I mean, I thought the idea was cool, but I was poor back then. I couldn't afford games.
Yeah, I borrowed them.
Well, let's see. Let's roll through what a couple of the people sent in. So,
and, No Fate also said The Last of Us live action. DMC live action would lend to... You referenced Power Rangers in the old school Power Rangers CGI. I think it'd be like a goofy Power Rangers type thing. It wouldn't be that it'd be boring. It'd just be it'd be way too campy.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's funny. He said The Last of Us. Now, I do want to say Killzone's rife for it, but I would actually. I don't know if you ever saw them, and this is where my brain links in. Do you ever see
live action?
No, live action. He says live action. I want to lean more towards animated. Did you ever see the animated movies for Dead Space?
Yeah, I had one of them somewhere.
They were great.
They were.
Think about the way this played out. I would like to see Killzone done in the really dramatic, gory style of something like that and let it really excel. But I do think Killzone could work in kind of what they're doing with the Halo series, like Halo Nightfall and stuff.
Hey, that's what I was thinking. I can't think of the name. What are the animated Halo movies called or show? Legends. Those were great.
But those were live action.
No. Legends was the anime.
Oh,
you're thinking of Fall of Reach is the book, which whatever.
I can't remember the first one.
Yeah, it's all animated. Or those are live action. Those are good too.
But when he says Wipeout, man, like the
Speed Racer
racing
style,
game?
Speed Racer style Wipeout. That'd be great.
I'd want that to be 3D animated.
No,
I would.
You're talking about CGI?
No, 3D animated. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I want to say like Pixar, but I mean, you're talking like. Did you ever watch Ajin?
No, I do not want my anime to be 3D animated.
Well, it wouldn't be an anime.
No.
It would be a cartoon.
No.
I think it would work because it'll give you a real sense of depth and speed.
Go watch Berserk, the movies, and tell me those look good.
Hold on. I'm not worried about that. I'm talking specifically about this. The racing aspects, and here's the thing, regardless of what you want, the racing aspects would be done in 3D animated regardless. Even if the rest of the show is 2D animated.
Dude, just old classic Speed Racer.
That's too campy.
It's Wipeout.
I don't know. Diablo and World of Warcraft. I think that those are rife. It's funny he goes live action with that.
But it's funny he said World of Warcraft. Well, there's a Warcraft movie. That was garbage.
Well, yeah,
Garbage.
but then again, that's actual Warcraft. World of Warcraft plays from all the Warcraft characters, but it just plays in a different way. I'm not a big WoW fan, but Diablo, my brain wants to go to animated with those. I feel like and to be fair, the reason I say that is because all of the Diablo cutscenes in between acts that are super well animated, they look beautiful.
See, that would be kind of cool, like 3D animated.
Yeah, like full-on animation. Because
I hate,
man,
I hate
Reaper of
anime.
Souls, whenever Malthael comes in, he starts dragging that guy's soul out of his body, and you see it like slam the ground.
Is that the very beginning of Reaper of Souls?
Of Reaper of Souls, yes. And he starts kind of almost draining Tyrael.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember the Tyrael also in the last cutscenes of that game.
Looked crazy. Malthael is so cool looking the way they did that. I would like to see an entire movie or miniseries or something like that done completely animated like that. They do such good cutscenes in those games. Those like actual legit cutscenes. They're insane.
Other than
XCOM.
XCOM would be interesting.
I think XCOM would work for live action.
You could do a sci-fi series style XCOM TV show. I think it'd work out pretty cool.
Okay, now the one thing that I've been reserving just because I think it's the most exciting thing he put on here, Soul Reaver as an animated show.
That would be cool, but it would fail because not a lot of people know what Soul Reaver is now.
But I don't think
targeted.
I don't think you need to. I think that because it's been so long since the Soul Reaver games even come out, that they can just do not try and throw in all this other Soul Reaver stuff. Probably even just let it stand as its own thing.
It would be cool if it came out.
Keep the characters, man. Just keep Raziel. Throw everything in there. I mean, and I think that Soul Reaver does better than Legacy of Kain. If we're comparing which ones I think would work.
Legacy of Kain is definitely lesser unknown.
I mean, I just think in general, if I think about the two series, because the series are intrinsically tied, I just thought the Soul Reaver games were always more gripping and they were always better. But not even from a game perspective. I think that if you want to go off of an interesting story, definitely what works for an animated series, Soul Reaver is great for that. The art style really lends itself well to it, and it would not work at all, in my opinion.
It would almost look like Spawn.
Yeah,
which would be cool.
Yeah, I'd be super down with that. That would look cool.
I'm sorry I keep hitting my mic, by the way, those audio listeners. If that even picks up, I've knocked it like 3 times now.
Oh, well.
But
yeah,
I think we had a good amount. We had
Sean One Neo. That's it. That's it. Soul Reaver is the best one you put on there, in my opinion. Thank you so much for. Man, you gave a real list, so I'm glad you're really into this because did you read what Dan sent in?
Yeah, I do agree with Dan that media should be separated. I do think though that there's always room to.
I think there's always an exception to the rule. Is what it
that
is.
Works too,
I do agree that for the most part the two should be separated, and I think that the number of failed game movies tells you that. Like it shows you that almost intrinsically.
If you try to tell me that Spirits Within is a real Final Fantasy something or another, no. That does not belong in Final Fantasy. People say Advent Children too. Advent Children was cool for me being like 14 years old because the fight scenes in that movie.
But hold on, here's the thing about Advent Children. I do think that Advent Children works because that's fleshing out a universe. It's not trying to be extra to 7. It's not trying to do like
which is what Kingsglaive was. It was having to provide exposition.
And I still haven't watched Kingsglaive.
I haven't either. Just based on the premise that you have to.
No, you don't have it. But I disagree.
Need to watch.
I disagree vehemently. You do
I've
not need to play that.
So many people say that you need to watch it to care about these people,
but you don't.
Care about Gladiolus.
But Gladiolus is the worst character in the whole group.
Hey, that is objectively false.
Subjectively false.
No, objectively. I know the differences. I have a recipe.
Oh, it's funny that someone mentioned that Dot Hack is a series that's done that because Dot Hack, even though I want to say Dot Hack was a show first,
was there a
if I'm not
PS3
mistaken.
game Dot Hacks, or they only on
They
PS2?
were all PS2.
I rented those games a lot,
The
but
games were great.
I never
okay,
beat
I'm sorry.
any.
I'm pretty sure they were all PS2. The first few were PS2 games, and you know that the Dot Hack games are coming back out through PS4 remasters. I'm super excited for that. Those games are extremely fun.
Yeah,
but the series was so good and the games were so good. They stood separate of each other, but they complemented each other in their own way.
Yeah.
But I do want to say I wanted to say that was a series before it was a game, and it goes to show that
they
can coexist in their own weird way like that.
This may be my memory just being faulty, but I do remember seeing a lot of Dot Hack mangas before I ever saw the video games.
Yeah, see, I'm pretty sure that's how it worked out, and it became a series after the manga. Even though I never read a manga personally. So Matt, not Maddie, said something like,
manga?
"Yeah, I didn't read any of those as manga."
Oh, I think you meant like you haven't read.
No, I've read a few. I much prefer actual animation to it. Anyway, Matt, not Maddie, says something like Fallout.
Disagree.
It's a big enough universe to do its own thing in the TV world without ruining the gaming experience for people.
I can agree to that.
I think for a number of reasons, because the same could be said about something like Skyrim, but you'd end up falling into this weird campy nature.
Game of Thrones.
Whereas you can do enough
No, it would lend itself to be too similar to Game of Thrones. There's not enough room right now.
Oh no, I thought you were saying like it would be good, and because Game of Thrones is good, but
no. I'm saying it would lend okay. Obviously, you can't do high fantasy with it being so similar. Now, of
honestly,
course,
you can't do high fantasy at all without it being too similar to Lord of the Rings, which I think is what kind of Game of Thrones has. It just has a little more interpersonal drama. And to be fair, Lord of the Rings has got a lot of interpersonal drama too, but it is more about the grandiose adventure of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit than it is the interpersonal
those are more
drama.
Pure, I would say.
But I mean, I said if you look at everything that's going on in there, I mean, it's all been done. Tolkien really pioneered that genre forward, so it's kind of been done. High fantasy is just high fantasy, and they're all going to seem somewhat derivative. It just is what it is. But if you take it for what they are, it's fine. But I wouldn't want to see that. I think Fallout works because it's something that they can kind of do with definitely the new one. They can get that 40s through 60s vibe, however they want to pull that off.
Dude, wouldn't it know
how out there? I think Fallout would lend a lot. I think the Fallout 4 story lends itself way better as a TV show than it did a video game story.
I have a better idea. What if they did a Fallout TV show that took place a year before the blast? And you got to live with this family. Like the last episode was like dinosaurs, but instead of the meteor hitting the Earth, it was the nuclear blast.
But then it's objectively, technically nothing to do with Fallout.
No, because you could go through all the companies and stuff that existed before. What was it? I forgot what those pre-times are called in Fallout now. But you could go through there and I think it'd be cool.
I mean, maybe. That would just be like the moment leading to the blast. It would be the only way to make that interesting.
Because there are brands and stuff like Nuka-Cola. I see like a dude working at a Nuka-Cola factory or something. I think that'd be fun.
That would just be cool from a Easter eggy aspect. The only way you can actually make that cool is if you make it a serious show about all the events leading up to the blast that happened.
Have you ever seen, there's a movie with Brendan Fraser in it, and I can't think of the name of it now, but it was a 90s movie where basically they thought the bombs were going off, so his parents, when his mom was pregnant with him, they took him into the bunker, and they didn't come out till the 90s, and this happened in like the 50s. Or 60s or something.
It sounds extremely familiar.
Boy, it is a good movie. I can't think of what it's called.
It sounds familiar, but regardless, I'm gonna keep going through this. And
we
it's funny.
We don't have much left.
Don Santarud also said Legacy of Kain, and that includes Soul Reaver animated series.
Right.
I don't know if I'd want to see both, and maybe it'd be cool to see them both be animated series and intertwine, kind of like they do with these live action DC shows now, like how the Flash will be the Arrow. I mean, I haven't watched them, so I don't know if it's done well or not. But I think that the idea is interesting if they execute it well.
Somehow, Smallville is the only WB show I've ever liked because all those other ones are garbage.
Well, they're not even WB, they're CW.
Same difference.
Tetris.
I laughed when I saw that
Dude,
one.
And then the video he posted with the guys just walking around with a little Tetris L.
I didn't see that.
Super stupid, but it's funny. Let's see. Wild Scorpion, or Scorpion Wild, sorry, I always do that. Alienation or Helldivers could be cool animated. I think Helldivers.
I think those would be good.
Because Helldivers is so... It's so on the surface about the things that are going on. That would be cool to go into it. And
we've been talking about shows. I think those would make good like short movies, like Wreck-It Ralph almost, like video game movie style things. Yeah. Nobody would know. There's not a lot of people who play Helldivers and Alienation.
I did not play Alienation. I know that it exists. I know it's Housemarque.
I didn't either. But I did play a good amount of Helldivers.
Okay, now here's the real one, and I actually think this could work, but I don't know how you go about doing it, and it depends on what era of Siphon Filter you want to go over. But Siphon Filter is a good idea. Siphon Filter live action. I think that would work. Siphon Filter is dramatic. Well, Siphon Filter is dramatic enough to be to have a series thing and be able to pull you that way. And I think that it's realistic enough to still remain live action and not need to go animated with it. And I think that you could play off of those in weird ways and have it.
I forgot there was sci-fi elements to those games. I forgot there was like sci-fi elements to those games.
No, they're just dramatic. There's not really sci-fi elements. It's kind of like Just Cause, where it's all rooted in like political stuff going on and wars and. It's
I
just
swear
drama.
in the PSP when you had some powers.
No. Nope.
I'm thinking of another game then.
You have to be.
Third person shooter with powers, I wonder, on PSP.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of what you're talking unless it was one of the ones. It wasn't. This one was like you're in a game world and there's glitches going on and you're shooting them. Those are weird. I'll double check and see if we have anything else. Shuriko said, I think Journey could be an interesting animated show. Uncharted feels like it already is. And Freedom Wars from Vita would be good.
Vita would be a good anime. I mean, Freedom Wars would be a good anime.
I do too.
But it's
even
too
from
similar
the
to Attack
get-go?
on Titan.
No.
From what I played of that game, you start out in a school. You're
from Freedom Wars?
Fighting. Yeah, do you not start out in a school in Freedom Wars?
No, you're imprisoned, man.
That's what it is. Never mind. I'm thinking about something else. I'm thinking about oh no.
Danganronpa? You starting to school?
No.
Well, it doesn't matter. Going through Freedom Wars, dude, I actually think that would make... Because Freedom Wars is the one with the panopticons that are like prisons. And
that's the one I couldn't get into.
Whenever you look above people's heads, you see how long their sentence still is, and it kind of is similar. That aspect looks like when you see people's death date with Shinigami eyes during Death Note. I think that would make a fantastic anime, and I do mean anime. It comes from Studio Japan anyway. Let that just become its own animated.
Does it really?
Yeah, Studio Japan made that game. That was their last Vita hurrah.
Interesting.
Yep. So, man, crazy.
Okay, I have a
Those
question.
are great ideas. Go ahead.
If you could have Nathan Drake in real life, would you pick Brendan Fraser or Nathan Fillion?
Nathan Fillion. Brendan Fraser is too calm now.
I think honestly,
the character doesn't match. I think Nathan Fillion's got the quippiness. I think that he's got the
looks
look.
like him. Yeah,
he's got the look for sure. I think he's got a decent amount. I think his build could end up working with it, and I think his age better lends him to seeing the stories of Nathan as an adult, because I think his adult escapades have always been a little more interesting than the kid ones. Throwing the kid ones in as additive things throughout the games are great. I don't know that I want to see, they're talking about the Uncharted movie being Tom Holland. And
that's
having
not talking
it be,
about. That's confirmed.
Dude, I mean, they've confirmed a million times that Uncharted to be this and that, and then it doesn't happen. Uncharted was going to be Marky Mark, and then that didn't happen. So
Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah. Oh. And I'm so glad that didn't happen. There's no way in hell.
What are you doing? I know.
It's the worst Mark Wahlberg impression I've ever heard.
Yeah, it is. But I actually enjoy a lot of his movies. Pain and Gain is a great movie. It's funny.
Four Brothers. Great movie.
Never heard of that movie.
For the most part, though, I like him whenever he's staying the Jersey boy that he is. And whenever he actually tries to act outside of what he actually kind of feels like he fits in with, I don't ever like it. I'm like, it's just something about it seems fake. But this isn't a movie podcast. We've said that once already. So can you think of any other shows that you'd like to do this way? I mean, with what Dan's saying,
I think that's pretty much it.
that I like to keep them separately. Going into more animated stuff, I would like to see, and this is technically a cop-out answer because it's not technically a game, even though I would take it. So I'll change my answer to an extent. I'll add on to it. So I would like to see something like Nier or Nier Automata branch out into some kind of anime around its stuff, or even the Drakengard series break off and have its own anime. And that's just what I said from that. But where my brain actually started with that is I would just like to see Yoko Taro, who is the director for all those games, and he has such a weird mind and his games are always so interesting. Yeah. I would like to see him branch out and just make his own anime, because I think he would make really interesting stuff. And that's a weird answer because it's just somebody who's always made games coming into a different medium. But I still think that somewhat applies to the question at hand. So I don't know. I can't think of anything else that just really pulls me, but some of the stuff that we said that people agreed with. But Saul, is there anything else you want to add into the end of this episode?
I think that was it.
All right. Well, until episode 22, this has been Triangle Squared. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you guys for chiming in on Twitter about your answers. We still appreciate that
of the show.
Yeah, of course. All right. Till next week. Thanks.